Hi, I'm Allie, a test prep tutor and strategist at Geek. What do you need to know about subject and verb agreement for the SAT and ACT? The foundation of writing is sentence structure, and the foundation of sentence structure is a subject and a verb. And the key here is that subject needs to match that verb. Let's look at an example. The dog chased the cat down the street. What's the subject of this sentence? Dog, right? This is the thing that's doing an action or that we're talking about in our sentence. Chased is our verb. This is the action that's taking place in this sentence. The dog chased the cat down the street. Okay, this one's pretty simple, right? But on the test, you might see something a little bit trickier, like the cat was chased down the street by the dog. It might get a little bit confusing what our subject is, what our verb is, but let's focus on what is the thing that we're talking about? What's the main thing that we're talking about? Or what is the thing that's doing the action? In this case, it's cat. The cat is what we're talking about. The cat's our subject, was chased is our verb. Let's talk a little bit more about verbs for a minute. So there's two main types of verbs. There's action verbs, which is what we just saw, that chasing action, or if we walk or if we jump, those are like basic actions, right? That's a verb, and that's typically what people think of when they think of a verb. But we also have what's called a helping verb, and that's a little bit trickier, right? It's typically used to help out the main verb in the sentence. So things like is, was, those are going to be helping verbs. So we want to keep our eyes peeled for those types of verbs as well as regular action verbs. Let's go back to that previous sentence we looked at. The dog chased the cat down the street. So again, our subject is dog, right? Is this an action verb in this sentence, or is this a helping verb? It's an action verb, right? Our verb is chased, and it's an actual action that's taking place. But what if we say the dog was fast when he chased the cat down the street? Well, in this case, it's was. Was is our helping verb. This is not necessarily an action. It's kind of saying that this person is something. It's their attribute. It's who they are. It's what they are, or it's what they were. And so in this case, we have a helping verb in this sentence, and we want to be able to quickly identify verbs regardless of if they're action verbs or helping verbs. Because on the test, this is going to quickly help us be able to tell if we have subject-verb agreement. So now that we've reviewed subjects and verbs, let's talk a bit more about subject-verb agreement. In the name, agreement, it's all about these two things agreeing with each other. If the subject is singular, you have to have a singular verb. If the subject is plural, you have to have a plural verb. Sounds pretty basic, right? Well, on the test, it honestly can get a little bit confusing as you have compound sentences, or if you have kind of convoluted sentences, it can be a little bit confusing what even the subject of the sentence is, and then from there, if it's plural or if it's singular. So let's walk through a few examples. The shaggy, large dog, an excellent hunter, chased the tiny feral cat down the street and into an abandoned building. All right, we got a lot going on here, lots of descriptive words, but when it boils down to it, we want to focus on where the subject of the sentence is. What is our subject? It's still dog, right? We're still talking about a dog. We're talking about a shaggy, large dog that's also an excellent hunter, but our subject is dog. So we know that is singular, right? Dog is singular. It's not plural. We're not talking about more than one dog. It's a singular dog. So we want to find our verb and make sure that the verb is also singular. So chased is also singular. So we are good to go. The dog chased. Now, one trick here is that we can kind of put these things a lot closer together visually for us, and that can kind of help our brains process all this information a little bit faster. So if we cut out all the details, cut out all the noise, and we say, the dog chased. Does that sound right to you? Yeah. Or we could even add the dog chased the cat if we want to kind of help our brains out a little bit. But typically, if you are a native English speaker, this is going to really help because it's going to put this information really close together and help us to just hear whether this is correct or not. Let's look at another example. The dog and his owner chases the cat down the street. Okay, so right off the bat, we might find that sounds a little funky, but let's go ahead and find the subject. Dog and his owner, so we have more than one thing going on here, right? We've got a compound subject, so we have two subjects essentially, the dog and his owner, and that makes it plural. Okay, so if it doesn't have to be girls or dogs or cats. In the literal sense of it being plural, it can also be compound or more than one thing that we're discussing, which makes it plural. So in this case, we want our verb to also be plural. In English, when we have a plural verb, it actually doesn't have an S on the end, so it's a little bit backwards. So the dog and his owner chase the cat down the street would be the correct form of this, not chases. The key here is to focus on what is the subject of your sentence. Make sure you identify it correctly, because if you don't identify the subject correctly, you're gonna have trouble finding a matching verb, right? Okay, so first of all, find that subject. Then figure out, is this singular or plural? Remember that compound subjects can also be plural. And then find your verb and figure out what the correct version of that verb is. If you're having trouble, eliminate all the noise, cross out any extra information you don't need, and put that subject and that verb right next to each other so that you can hear whether it's correct or not. Thanks so much for joining me. If you're looking for more content like this, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can also find us at testgeek.com/blog.